Hi, my name's Steve and I run All Star Roller Skating. I'm going to talk about skate maintenance today. Um, Before you go skating, before you put your skates on, really you should check to see if everything's looking fine. Okay, I've got a skate here, typical skate that you might buy off the internet, etc. And what you need to check is you've got your toe stoppers here. It's a rubber thing on the front. Here's one that's a different colour. They've got a bolt on the end, so make sure it's tightened up. This one isn't tight. This skate was left at one of our sessions on Sunday, and I'll tighten it up and give it back to the owner when they come see me. So make sure that's tightened up, and also make sure it's not worn down to the bolt, because if you're skating indoors at a rink, wooden floor, if it's worn down to the bolt, you're going to damage the floor. Okay, check your wheels, give them a feel. Make sure they go round. These are a bit tight. Okay. And give them a feel. Make sure they're not too loose. Because inside those wheels, you've got bearings. I'll show you a bearing. There's one bearing. You've got two bearings fit inside the wheel. Okay, and they can collapse and fall apart. And then what will happen is it's got lots of little ball bearings inside. And if it collapses and falls apart while you're skating at the rink, all the little ball bearings go all over the floor. People will trip on them. So yeah, make sure they're spinning round, make sure they're not too wobbly. Grab hold of the axle here and give that a wobble, make sure it's not too loose. Okay, make sure the boot is bolted to the skate properly. Okay, the boot has actually got a couple of bolts, 4 bolts, or you might have more than 4 bolts. But make sure it's not coming away from the skate. Make sure your laces are in reasonable condition. You can tie them all up to the top. You need to fit your skates quite snugly. What you don't want, they're not a pair of trainers, so you don't want them sort of half untied with the laces tucked in. They need to be nice and snug. Snugger they are without being too tight, then the better they're going to feel, the easier it'll be for you to skate. Okay, part 2. I'm going to talk now about the type of skates people buy, because with running regular sessions, mums will come along to us and ask, what sort of skates shall we buy? Now, I know that people don't want to spend a lot of money. The difficulty we're having here in the UK is that we have no skate manufacturers left. We used to have quite a lot. Now it's either a question of you buy proper skates, which in our case in the UK mostly come from Italy, a few from the US, but the ones that I know from Italy, called Rollline. Anybody into serious skating, in my opinion, will buy something like those. The rest is what's available online, what you see in the sports shops, what we see on TV, etc. And these are pretty much all made in the Far East. I would class them as toys. They can run from £20 up to about 70 or £80. But in my opinion, they're still toys. Now, the difficulty we have now is because of probably the aluminium price rises, the prices of raw metals. They're now making all the skates with plastic chassis. If I show you a typical skate here, this part is the boot, and then the part with all the mechanism on it and the wheels are attached to is called the chassis or the skate plate. Now they're making them out of plastic. Now the way a skate is meant to work, if you know how a skateboard works, when you lean on one side, it makes the wheels do that, so it'll go around the corner. Yeah, does that make sense? I'll show you on this one, because this is a skate that, although it's come from the Far East, we bought at a time when most of the chassis were aluminium. So this has got a nice aluminium chassis, and because aluminium is much stronger than the plastic, they're able to put proper rubber cushions on. So if I turn the wheel, if I turn the axle there, perhaps you can see that it pivots on a pivot pin back there. Difficult to show you. I don't know if you can see it pivoting, so that when you lean on one side it goes around the corner, you lean on the other side it goes around the corner that way. And what happens now is, because they've made these now out of plastic, and they're not very strong, instead of a nice rubber cushion, they've put hard plastic cushions in. Well, they're not even cushions, they're just pieces of plastic. Here's one in a pink, so you can see the pink, what should be cushions, and they're not really cushions, they're just hard bits of plastic. So I've got a couple here. This is a rubber, and you can see that I can squish it in and out, It sounds like that on my little table. This is a plastic one that no matter how I try, I can't squeeze it, and it makes different noises. The rubber one, here's the plastic one. Okay, so with the plastic ones, which is basically all the skates that I class as toys, that you'll buy online, you'll buy in sports shops, you'll buy, I better not mention any names, but you'll buy here, there, on the high street, etc. They've pretty much all got plastic chassis and hard plastic cushions, so they won't go around corners unless you actually move your foot around. And what they're supposed to do is, you lean one side, it's supposed to curve around. Those are called edges. Now, what happens at our sessions is, yes, we run fun roller skate, roller disco type sessions, but we believe that the more people, the better a skater is, the more fun they're going to have, and we want the kids to have fun. So we have a teaching element in all our sessions. We'll do about 20 minutes each session, and we have a graded system, and they start as an absolute beginner and work their way up. We've got some people doing quite serious tricks on skates now. But the difficulty when the mum comes and asks us what sort of skates should they buy, we've only really got two answers actually. One is proper skates, which are the roll lines in our opinion. Children's packages starting from around about £150, or we can supply a skate. We have found a manufacturer, we've found a supplier in the UK who is bringing in skates that have an aluminium chassis. Now, I've searched on the internet and all the suppliers that I know, and all the ones that I've seen apart from this one have a plastic chassis like this. So in other words, you lean, they don't go anywhere, they just go in a straight line. So we found these. You may have seen these online already. They have an aluminium chassis, and we've asked the supplier to change the hard plastic bushes for some rubber ones. So now they will move. So you lean on one side and it'll go around the corner, lean on the other, it'll go around that corner. So that's the one we found, and it's the only one we can recommend out of the toys. Okay, these are my skates. I know they're dirty, but they're in regular use all the time. I don't clean them that often, but I won't be able to move this with my hand, because usually the rubber bushes are graded to what weight you are, to what range of weights you are. So I'm quite heavy, so I can't really move them with my hand. But when I lean on them, they go around the corner. Lean that way, they go around the corner that way. Okay, the other problem with some of the cheaper skates that you buy are the bearings in the wheels. Now this one has got quite reasonable bearings in it, called precision bearings. Here's one here. You can see this very well. Not very good at doing things in the mirror. But there's a bearing, it's a precision bearing. Okay, in some of the cheaper skates you get a pressed steel bearing like this. Now these are particularly a problem, especially the way that the manufacturers or the suppliers are setting the skates up, because they don't know They might be making skates, but they don't really know anything about them, I don't think. So what quite often happens is when they put them together, they tighten the wheel up so tight that it's pulling the bearings together. Okay, now the bearings are supposed to be fairly free in the wheel. So they're that tight that it's destroying the bearings as you skate. I'm going to lock this one up. So they have them like that, you know. The wheel will still go around, but it's far too tight. There's no slack in it at all. So what you need to do is just undo it until there's a tiny little bit of movement, and that's when there's no pressure on the bearings. Of course they don't know that, so people are buying them usually with wheels that are tightened up too tight. This will destroy any bearing, but particularly these pressed steel bearings. And then what happens is you'll know straight away, because your wheel will feel really wobbly. And if you're skating around indoors in a roller rink and the bearing comes apart, inside there's a lot of little tiny ball bearings, and they will just scatter across the floor and cause immense problems, because anybody skating on one of them, it'll trip them up. Okay, so there we have it. So we can recommend this one for a cheap option, or see us about getting some roll line ones. We're selling these for £45, by the way. Okay, so thanks for listening, and hopefully I'll be able to figure out a way to put my website across the bottom. If you're in the Northwest, come and see one of our sessions. Have a look on the website to see where we are. We're opening new sessions all the time. Happy skating. Cheers. Bye.